We ready?
Yeah, start.
Yeah. Is it everyone in?
Good morning.
Tiffany?
Yeah.
Yes?
Go.
I think we're going. So good morning and welcome to the press conference launch of the New Deal for CUNY legislation. I'm Andrea Vasquez, first vice president of the Professional Staff Congress, the union representing 30,000 workers at CUNY. We're part of the CUNY Rising Alliance, a coalition of dozens of groups fighting for the free quality education that all students deserve. We're intent upon raising the revenue we need for this university and for the many other needs of middle and working class New Yorkers. I want to give a shout out to my predecessor as PSC VP, Mike Fabricant, who played a foundational role in getting this campaign off the ground. We have DC 37 in the house and so many attendees and legislators here to mark the day, so we'll be keeping a quick pace. We'll start with a 30-second shout out from CUNY Rising Alliance member organizations, alum, and students. Then we'll hear from the prime sponsors of the New Deal for CUNY legislation, Senator Andrew Gounardes and Assemblymember Karines Reyes. After that, we'll have a Q&A with the press. And in the second half of the event, we'll finish with the legislators speak out and possibly a few questions, time permitting. We're thrilled to have so many voices today. So in order to get to everyone, we're calling this a flash event, and I'll be keeping us to time. A few technical things. We'd like attendees and the press to add to your name in the Zoom participant lists. If you're press, please put in your outlet. Others, please feel free to identify yourself as student, alum, or add the organization you're a part of next to your name. In the chat, we'll be answering some of your questions, and there'll also be links to a form for you to sign up to get involved in the campaign and access the social media kit. So attendees, please sign up and tweet away throughout the hour. So thank you all for joining us and making this a powerful event that propels us into the legislative session. We're so grateful for the continued support of Senator Stavisky and Assemblymember Glick, and thank them for an excellent higher education hearing yesterday. CUNY and our Black and Brown communities have been taking a hit for decades. This is the year. Now is the time to courageously raise revenue, pass legislation, and build a new and better normal. As the CUNY Rising Alliance's first campaign flyer announced, we're envisioning a new day for CUNY and a new deal for CUNY. So on that note, let's get started and hear from our organizations. We have Lucas Sanchez from New York Communities for Change, Amber Rivero from University Student Senate, John Jay President. Lucas. Oh, you're muted. You're still muted, Lucas. Okay.
Okay, I think I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Buenos dias, familia. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucas Sanchez. I'm with New York Communities for Change. I'm thrilled to be here today to stand with the CUNY family to fight for a new deal for CUNY. We need a new deal for CUNY now. When CUNY matters, our communities matter. When CUNY matters, our communities are strong. When we fight for a new deal for CUNY, we fight for social justice. When we fight for a new deal for CUNY, we fight for racial justice. When we fight for a new deal for CUNY, we fight back against white supremacy. When we fight for a new deal for CUNY, we fight back against the systems and structures that keep Black and Brown communities down. That time is over. We will fight for racial justice. We will fight for Black and Brown communities. We will win a new deal for CUNY. Let's go.
Thank you. Amber. And then Melanie.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amber Rivero, and I'm the John Jay Student Government President and also representing USS right now as Vice Chair of Senior Colleges. Thank you for having me. The New Deal for CUNY is one of the most progressive higher education legislations that's been introduced in a long time, and it's an honor to be here amongst the many advocates, coalitions, unions, and legislators that have poured into this bill over the last few years. Yes, the pandemic has brought more illumination to the needs of CUNY students and the systemic issues that exist in our university, but I personally believe that higher education should not be treated like a luxury or a privilege. Higher education is a basic human right, and therefore CUNY should be free and fully funded. The New Deal for CUNY should be supported by every legislator in New York State, and this is an opportunity to bring justice and equity for our students and the CUNY community and create a more equitable society in New York for everyone, regardless of race, class, sex, or ability. Thank you for having me and University Student Senate here today, and I look forward to working with all of you to see the New Deal for CUNY passed.
Great. Melanie Cruvelis and then Tanisha Williams.
Good morning, folks. It's great to be here with you all today. My name is Melanie Cruvelis, and I am here representing Young Invincibles. And we are here today because we recognize the reality that is facing CUNY students. During this pandemic, more than half of CUNY students are seriously worried about losing their housing. We know that rates of hunger, depression, anxiety are all on the rise, making it even harder to succeed in college. And Governor Cuomo either doesn't understand or doesn't care about these challenges, with a budget proposal that calls for increasing tuition, cutting CUNY ASAP, and cutting campus childcare. Enough is enough. We're done with austerity budgets. The New Deal for CUNY will reverse years of disinvestment in the nation's largest urban public university system. The 200,000 plus students at CUNY deserve better. CUNY has been free before, and it will be again. Thank you.
Tanisha Williams.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. Hello, my name is Tanisha Williams, and I am a proud alumnus from Hunter College, where I studied film. I support the New Deal for CUNY because it shouldn't be up to students to figure out how to graduate alone. Hunter College is a good school. There were never enough academic advisors to help students like me stay on track to graduate. I went several semesters without ever seeing an advisor. Appointment slots were often booked, and there were not enough advisors in general to accommodate the students. It is necessary that New York works to pass the New Deal. It's the least our state could do for CUNY students. Thank you.
Great. Smitha Varghese and then Diana Cruz.
Great. Hi, everyone. So my name is Smitha Varghese. I'm the New York City campaign coordinator for the Alliance for Quality Education. I'm a daughter of immigrants, first generation. I've been through the New York City public school system up until CUNY, Queens College. So I can confidently say that public education from K through 12 and higher education in this city is highly neglected. I know the governor wants to raise tuition again. This governor of austerity, who's more inclined to protect the donor class than he is the working class. I want to thank Senator Gounardes and Assemblymember Reyes for sponsoring the New Deal for CUNY. It's been a bill and a movement that we've all been pushing for years. We need a New Deal for CUNY because tuition needs to be free in this state that has astronomical wealth that largely goes untaxed. Adjuncts at CUNY make poverty wages while New York's billionaires pocketed more than $77 billion since March. This is a great day for the CUNY community to have the New Deal for CUNY being introduced in Albany. The next step is to make sure it gets passed, and we need to tax the rich to make it happen. Thank you.
Diana.
Good morning, everybody. This is Diana Cruz with Hispanic Federation, and I cannot be happier than being here today with all of you. There is a great power in numbers, and today in this morning shows that all of us are committed to supporting college students, not only with their access, but success in college education. So we commit to engaging in policy and programs that will advance many of us to succeed. Not only for the students that are entering now, but we know that the pandemic has completely left many of them behind. So we're committing today and tomorrow to ensure that all of this happens. And one of the things that I admire about CUNY Rising Alliance is their action plan, and it shows. So we're committing today and committing tomorrow to ensure that all of this works. Thank you so much for being here together. And one of the things that I want to emphasize is that we want to collaborate with all of you. Today's the first day that we're introducing the bill, but it doesn't stop here. Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you all for those great comments. We now have nearly 500 people in the room, and that's just fabulous. Shows the enthusiasm for this effort. We now have President Barbara Bowen, PSC President, who will give a short rundown of the New Deal for CUNY.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you. There's screen after screen of beautiful faces. This is really a coalition effort. And thank you, Andrea, for taking us through this, for everyone who's spoken so far, and for Senator Gounardes, Assemblymember Reyes. You're pioneers here. This is a historic day, and it's beautiful to be here with you. So just a quick rundown on the legislation. I think a key point is that it represents a coalition. You're seeing the coalition right now. It's not one group's agenda, it's a shared agenda that we came to together. It represents students, it represents faculty, staff, community, and other labor groups. It's a shared piece of legislation, and it has 4 elements. First, in no particular order, is making CUNY free. CUNY should be free. It was for more than 100 years. And the first piece of this is to bring in and restore free tuition, not just community colleges, but throughout CUNY for CUNY students. Second is bringing in the number of advisors our students need. Our students are heroic to be in college, to face the obstacles they face, and yet they persist in astonishing ways. But CUNY is woefully underserved by academic advisors and mental health advisors. So plank number 2 is increasing the number of advisors for mental health and academic counseling so that they reach the national standards. CUNY is way below the national standards. 3 is revitalizing the faculty. CUNY's faculty has been decimated through the years. Thousands of positions have been lost. So this piece has a couple of parts. First, in any order, is to increase the number of full-time faculty by 5,000 positions. That merely brings CUNY back to levels that it had been in the past and revitalizes the full-time faculty. While doing that, it gives us an opportunity to target aggressive recruitment and support for a diverse faculty, a more diverse faculty with racial and gender and ethnic diversity. And at the same time, it will allow CUNY to move many of the adjuncts who currently teach into full-time faculty positions. At the same time, though, as there are adjuncts who remain at CUNY, they must receive parity pay and compensation. And this legislation will set a new labor standard nationally, which New York should be setting as a state that describes itself as a labor state. It should set a new labor standard mandating parity compensation. And the last piece is investment in the capital plan, in the buildings, facilities, to make them safe and sustainable. We see now more than ever how critical that is. So there are the 4 parts: tuition, advisors, faculty, and buildings. Those 4 things together will create a new CUNY, and for that, a new imagination for New York, because CUNY should be the imagination of our state and our city. So let's do it together. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. We wanted to show this 30-second video before at the very beginning, but I would like to show it to you now. Sam, please share your screen.
Now the moment for New York City to put higher education as a priority. This is not an issue that is happening because COVID-19 is here. This is constant tuition hikes. This is the constant disinvestment of the defunding of a university that predominantly serves 80% Black and brown students of color. This is not confusing. This is not a nuance. And we understanding why we are getting systematically defunded, but it is now time for we have our elected officials to fund this university. When we move forward, when we talk about a new deal for CUNY, we must put higher education at the forefront. We cannot reimagine New York City without reimagining what CUNY can become.
Thank you, Giovanni. Fabulous. So we're going to move on right now. And on this day, the launch of the New Deal for CUNY with hundreds of attendees, we are so grateful and proud to have our prime sponsors speak to you, Senator Andrew Gounardes and then Assemblymember Karines Reyes. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Andrea. And good morning, everyone. It's so exciting to see so many people on this call. I speak to you not only as a state senator who's proud to support this legislation, but as a graduate of the City University system from Hunter College, as someone who has taught at Hunter College, and as someone who would not actually be here were it not for Brooklyn College, because that is where my parents met, at the Greek Club at Brooklyn College, you know, not that many years ago, but a while ago. CUNY, City University, has shaped my life from the very beginning up to the very moment that we're in right now. And I could not be prouder to take this stand with you all. It's really, really simple. Our City University system is a catalyst for economic change, for social change, for justice, for all of the things that we are all fighting for collectively. The City University was and can be again the catalyst to see those visions realized. But we can't do that if we continue to have a city university system that is starved by austerity politics, that is deprived of critical infrastructure upgrades and improvements and investments, that does not have first-in-class hiring practices, top first in the nation ratios for faculty and mental health counselors and support services for students, all the things that we know we need to make the City University the world's premier public urban university, which it absolutely can be if we are able to realize this goal and if we are able to get this legislation across the finish line. I feel very confident about that because just seeing the breadth of support we have, not just from our legislative colleagues who are on the call today, but the entire CUNY community who has signed up here, students, faculty members, graduates, supporters, really, really overwhelming. I want to thank each and every one of you for standing behind this new deal. We know that a century ago, our nation went through a really, really difficult economic time, and the way that we got out of it was by investing in human capacity, the New Deal. Well, now in a moment of economic crisis, at a moment when we are challenged like we haven't been in a very long time, we need to learn the lessons from our past and redouble our efforts to invest in human capacity again. That is exactly what the New Deal for CUNY is all about. And I think it's important for us to just take note of the fact that we are doing this launch the day after we had our higher education budget hearings in the legislature yesterday. And what we heard yesterday during the budget hearings was really quite illuminating in terms of the challenges that CUNY faces to provide world-class and first-in-class higher education services and support services to its students. We have a system that has been starved for resources. We have a system that has been decreed from on high that they have to lose 20% of their funding without any understanding of where that money is going or when they're going to see that money again. We have a system that is relying on a month-by-month budgeting process, which is just asinine and completely crazy that this is how we are functioning in the 21st century today. With the CUNY New Deal, not only are we advancing substantive policy goals to see where we want the university to go, we are planting a flag in the sand and we are saying that this is what we believe the vision for a city university should be like, and this is the vision that we are all rallying around and will continue working and fighting for to make sure that we enact. I want to thank all of our partners who are on this, and I especially want to thank my Assembly colleague, Reyes, for all of her help and partnership in seeing this come to fruition, and I'm happy to turn the floor over to her for her comments.
Thank you, Senator Gounardes, for those wonderful remarks. And I'm so happy to be part of this coalition. And as we see the amount, literally, we just hit 500 people on this press conference. And this is a testament to the support and the life-changing aspect of CUNY. For me, CUNY has always been an integral part of my life. I'm a first-generation immigrant. LaGuardia Community College was where my mother learned English, and I would sit there in those classes with her. And I'm a CUNY alum, graduated from Bronx Community College and Baruch College, and I wouldn't be the person I am today and have had all the opportunities and the life-changing experiences if it wouldn't have been for CUNY. And I think it's important that we do reimagine what the recovery of our city is and what it should look like. We know that education is the great equalizer, but we also know that people with education have better health outcomes overall. And I think that is a testament to how we should be addressing this as a human rights issue, that we should be extending higher education to every single person in our state and every person in our city. So this is a great first step. And of course, this isn't just the beginning of this fight. This is going to be a very long fight, as well as we fight to raise revenue. So CUNY has all the resources they need to continue to thrive and serve all the students of our city. So happy to be here. I am very, very encouraged by the amount of support that I see. If I wasn't as encouraged a few hours ago, I am certainly very encouraged now to see all the support that we have. And I think that this can actually happen this year if we keep pushing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for your comments, for carrying this bill, for your commitment and energy in this pivotal moment. It is super to have you here. We're now going to go to Tiffany Brown and Frank Clark, who will meet the press. Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the great press conference so far. So for press, we're going to take those questions first. And we really ask you to rename yourself and raise your hand, blue or yellow hand. And we're going to take those questions first and give us some time because we're going to promote you and allow you to ask your question. So make sure you change and identify yourself with the outlet that you work for. And if you don't want to ask your question on camera, please ask the question in the chat. So Fran, please let me know if we have any questions, and we're going to work on promoting you to allow you to ask the question and unmuting. So please raise your hand.
Okay, so we are looking for questions from the press here. We're going to start by our first press question is from Lauren from the Envoy. And while we unmute and spotlight Lauren, I just want to ask other members of the press to raise your hand if you want to ask a question on screen, and put your question in the chat if you want to ask a question in the chat. I saw folks from 1010 Wins, AM New York, Bronx Free Press, and saw some others asking for their, so please let us know.
Hi. So if I'm not mistaken, this legislation costs $6.7 billion over 5 years. So where would that money come from?
I'm going to hand that question over to either assembly member or the senator.
Karina, do you want to take that first and I'll chime in?
Absolutely. And that's why I said this piece of legislation goes hand in hand with revenue raisers. And we have to not just raise revenue to fill in the deficit, but also to have a surplus and make sure that we're no longer passing austerity budgets. So that means raising revenue on the uber rich in New York City and New York State, so that we have the resources to fully fund CUNY.
And I'll just piggyback, obviously we are all looking to raise revenue in the state to help pay for the essential services that we have not paid for far too long. But really shouldn't be thought about in terms of cost. This is about an investment. Every dollar we invest in our education system pays enormous dividends on the outside. And so the more that we invest in our city university system, the more economic value we are creating, which helps raise, it's a rising tide lifts all boats type of argument. So the more money we put in, the more money we get out. And so I think at a time of austerity and a time of deep economic challenges, we should be looking to invest more in the programs and initiatives and the services that we know will produce greater economic output for the entire city, the entire state, and for each of the individual members who are part of this community.
Andrea, could I just add and thank you, Lauren, great question, that the amount you quote includes the capital funding and also operating costs, and those are separate in the budget, and the capital funding is already there for other projects, and also it's over 5 years that we would phase up to that. So it's the cost for the operating money is about $1.5 billion. And we heard yesterday legislators talking about asking us to imagine and asking the chancellor to imagine investing $4 billion in CUNY. So 1.5 should be easily reached. And I think what we heard from the legislators is fantastic.
Okay, I'm going to take another general audience question just while we see if there are any other press that want to raise their hands. I see one hand raised with somebody who's not identifying if they're press or not. And that is from a number of people want to know how the federal stimulus plays with this. How does federal stimulus interact with this?
Well, Barbara, do you want to lead with that question, and maybe the senator or assembly want to jump in?
Sure. In two ways. First of all, as we heard in Governor Cuomo's budget, there's a $15 billion budget gap at CUNY, in New York State, and the governor's pressing for $15 billion from a new federal stimulus. We are joining in pressing for that, but that will not be enough. That still leaves CUNY at austerity funding. And then maybe the question was also referring to the federal stimulus money CUNY's already received. $251 million in the CARES Act, and then another $455 million in the more recently passed relief bill. CUNY, the union is pushing, and I'm sure our partners here today too, are pushing that all that money be spent, not hoarded and held for some kind of budget emergency. Some has already been distributed as it should be under the law in direct grants to students, but there's a substantial amount of money that's marked as institutional money that can be used for institutional needs. And our point is that that money must be invested, not held. It should be used now to keep classes open, to reinstate adjuncts who were laid off, to make sure there are enough courses for our students and enough support for them. That's what that money is for. It's got to be used right away and make a great groundwork for the additional investments to come.
Okay.
I think
press.
I'm sorry, Smitha, did you want to add anything to that? No?
Okay, press who are on the calls, maybe getting enough from all of the speakers and are a little shy about their questions, but I have another
I did
audience
have a question. Sorry, I was just having trouble unmuting myself. So the question is, all the legislators on this call, you already know the governor wants to raise revenue by taxing the working class, by legalizing marijuana, legalizing online sports betting. That is a working class tax instead of targeting the rich. So the question is, how are you approaching this, and how are you tying revenue raisers to the 6 bills that we are all proposing through the Invest in Our New York Act is the question.
So generally, we're going through this budget process now. We're finishing up the budget hearings, I believe, next week, and each of the chambers of the legislature will put forth their own vision for the budget based on public comments. On both sides of the Capitol. I imagine we will see significant revenue raised or proposed to be raised in each of the legislative chambers as a way to pay and invest in all of these programs that have been starved for resources for far too long. I agree with you that what the governor is proposing is wholly inadequate and really places the onus and the burden on the folks who can least afford to be able to help pay for these essential services. And there is significant momentum, behind this campaign, but also more broadly speaking, behind the recognition, the fact that those who have done very well need to be paying their fair share, and for a long time they have not been, and that we are looking to rectify that as part of this coming budget cycle. As it relates to tying specific funding to specific revenue raisers, I think there is broad agreement that there are so many core essential government programs and services and institutions and investments that we need to be making, that one is not less or more important than the other when it comes to thinking about our education system, our higher education system, our healthcare system, our mental health system, that we are seeking a broad-based consensus on raising revenue across the board. And then we will have sufficient resources to be able to pay for the elements of this plan, as well as the shortcomings and other essential safety net programs that have been decimated for far too long.
Thank you.
Okay. If we could put Greg McQueen from the Bronx Free Press up on, if we could spotlight him and unmute him, he has a question.
Hi, yes, good morning. With this plan, how much money are you hoping to see allocated to capital projects? And what are some of the projects you'd like to see prioritized across CUNY campuses?
Barbara, do you want to lead with that question? And maybe some of our community groups might be able to jump in, or Andrea?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
it would, about $5 billion, as Barbara said, is capital improvements. And that wouldn't even be enough to really bring all of the buildings and facilities of CUNY up to where they should be. I know, we hear from students, we hear from faculty and staff about the conditions in which our students are learning. Maybe Amber or someone else on the panel would like to speak to this more specifically, or Tanisha, about facilities at CUNY.
Well, basically from my experience as a student who went to, Hunter, as I've said, wait, sorry, can you repeat the question? I heard faculties.
Yeah, it was about the facilities, about our buildings. And I know that I hear stories even from counselors who are speaking to students and they have vermin running across the office.
Oh, I have plenty. we had a bed bug outbreak while I was there. Everyone who went to Hunter, the library story. I've had a light nearly fall on me in Hunter. There are some parts where the building is updated and some parts that are not. They're doing their best, but things could be improved, especially with the elevators. They're really slow and you have to accommodate all these students. So that's just my two piece. If anyone had similar experiences, let us know.
Amber?
Yeah, so I'm not sure, the projects that have been talked about in like specific details, but I can also attest as a CUNY student to the conditions that I've witnessed, and I haven't had the opportunity to visit all 25 campuses, but I have been to a few, and so I'm actually a Medgar Evers College alumni, and then went to John Jay as a transfer student. And one of the biggest issues at Medgar Evers was the original building on the Carroll Street building, where we had multiple electrical fires while we were in class and had to evacuate, which is obviously a safety issue. And then there was the issue at Medgar Evers where we had the outside portables, like actual trailers that didn't have adequate heat or adequate air conditioning during the summer. And we had to share that space with the Medgar Evers High School. And so it was just a conflict of interest when we were trying to take our classes, as well as just, it seems really interesting and kind of illuminating to me that a lot of the colleges that have the worst conditions, in my experience within the CUNY system, seem to be in the low income Black and brown neighborhoods. Like Medgar Evers is in central Brooklyn, Hostos is in the South Bronx. The conditions that students are going to class in Hostos is ridiculous. I would not want to go to class in that building or the way that things are kept outside of the CUNY campus. And I don't think that it's by mistake that the conditions of the CUNY schools that are falling apart just so happen to be in the lower income Black and brown neighborhoods.
Thank you. It's clearly a sign of disinvestment and a sign of disrespect for the higher education of students when the facilities look like this. So that's why that funding is needed.
All right, so let's take one last question in this section before we move on. We have I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Iraj Zia from the Ticker.
Hi, my name is Iraj.
Iraj.
I just had a quick question for whoever wants to answer it. I know there are several challenges that you guys are going to be facing moving forward with this sort of legislation. In your opinion, what would be your top 3 concerns or your top 3 challenges that you are looking to solve?
Assemblywoman, would you want to lead with that question?
Sure. I think of course, the biggest challenge here is going to be finding the money. And I can't stress this enough, how this can't just be the CUNY New Deal. This has to also be the revenue raising conversation along with the coalition. So definitely, how do we pay for it? And if we're able to raise the revenue, like somebody else asked, making sure that that money is earmarked for CUNY. And then also ensuring that that the implementation of the program goes through. But in the shorter term, building the support for this and making sure that we have the support in both chambers to pass the legislation.
Lucas, do you want to add anything to that? Priorities? Well, maybe when he gets.
Lucas, you should be able to unmute now.
Maybe Senator Gounardes, well, Lucas is unmuting. Maybe if Senator Gounardes wants to talk about other obstacles.
Sure. So I think the Assemblyman is correct. The biggest challenge we're going to have is making sure that we have enough public support to help pay for these programs, to help pay for this initiative. We think that it's a no-brainer from our perspective, because like I said earlier, every dollar in is a multiplier effect for every dollar back out into the system, and that the City University really is that economic mobility engine that we all know it is and really can be. So making that case convincingly and really making the case to all of our colleagues and to the governor and to the city, because the city pays a significant portion of CUNY's budget as well, and they'll be facing their budget process right after ours, that every dollar they invest in the system really will help get New York City back, get its economic footing back, and really position us for a post-COVID world stronger and better than before. So that's really first and foremost our biggest challenge. And then I think, looking at the pieces of the plan, Really it's making sure that whatever we are able to do for the system focuses in on the critical needs that we have identified: the tuition, the support services for students, the physical infrastructure, and just the quality faculty that we want to be able to recruit and retain to help teach at this university. Those are really the four essential pieces of any strong university. We cannot let any of them be sacrificed while we are pushing forward this goal. So, paying for it's first and foremost, but then making sure that none of the goals get left behind so we can really elevate the status of this university system to the place that we all know it should be.
I think you have Lucas.
Lucas, I think you're unmuted now.
Sure. I mean, that's a really important question. I mean, I think I want to go back to what Assemblymember Reyes said before. We need to invest in our New York. We need to raise revenue. We need to tax the ultra wealthy in the state of New York. And we need Governor Cuomo to stand behind the Invest in Our New York package. We need to tax the wealthy. If we can tax the multimillionaires and the billionaires that have profited by making billions over the last 10 months of this historic pandemic, we can have a new deal for CUNY, and we can have a shining beacon of what a free, quality public higher education can be, not only in the city, but in this country.
Andrea, can I just add that, there's a reason we don't have investment in CUNY right now. It's not because nobody ever thought of it. It's because of the economic and political interests that oppose investment in the communities that CUNY serves and oppose having a beautiful intellectual space for Black and brown and low income and immigrant New Yorkers. There's a reason, and those interests are still there, and they're going to be mobilized against this. So that's why we need all 553 people on this call to bring 5 new people each, because those interests are there, and a history and a habit of racist disinvestment is there, and an acceptance of that as the norm is also there. So those forces are going to be pushing back hard, and this is a fight worthy of us, and we should be in it. And I think part of recognizing that is recognizing those interests that have kept CUNY poor, that have deliberately immiserated, impoverished CUNY. That's been a plan so that our students do not survive and do not thrive. That's not by accident. So we're going to have to overcome all of those interests, and this is a fabulous battleground on which to do it. I think we can do it, and we have to recognize what we're up against, and that will, I think, empower our fight too.
I just want to piggyback off of what Barbara just said and share a story, which, last year I went and I met with the University Student Senate. It was a Sunday afternoon, if I recall correctly. And we had a very long-ranging conversation about a whole bunch of things, concerns facing the university. And then one of the students to my right turned to me and said, I don't know if you know, but I go hungry quite often because I'm trying to pay for my schooling on my own, and I don't qualify for other help, and I've actually given up meals. And he started saying this, and like tears started coming to his eyes, and it really was, I think, symbolic and emblematic of the challenges that many of our students face today, and why investing in this university system is so incredibly important, and why we can't leave a single student behind along this journey, because no student should have to sit there and say, I am paying for my textbooks with my lunch money. And that's essentially the message that I heard at that meeting. And that conversation has stayed with me ever since then, has really kind of motivated me in all the work that we've been doing on this package, and making sure that students like that individual don't get forgotten in this bigger talk and bigger push about budgets and revenues and this and that. Like, it's about the students. It's about the people. It's about the human beings that we are trying to invest in. And that's what I think is the most important thing for us to remember throughout all of this.
Fran, how are we doing?
We are good now. We should move on. I see a couple of other student press questions, which I'll make sure we get to, but we need to move on to the legislators speak out.
Excellent. This is great. It is amazing that we have up to around 550 CUNY supporters here. And we know we have so many strong supporters in the legislature, and some of them are in the House today. So I would like to really quickly, I hope we get to hear from every one of them in a quick shout out, but I'm just going to read some last names for you. Biaggi, Brisport, Hoylman, Jackson, Liu, Mayer, Ramos, Salazar, Sanders, Gottfried, Anderson, Burgos, De La Rosa, Epstein, Forrest, Gallagher, Gonzalez Rojas, Montesano, Rosenthal, Seish, Septimo, Simon, Taylor, Weprin, and Mitaines. So this is the portion where we're calling the legislatives shout out. And we need you to be staunch CUNY champions. And so we'd like to hear from you. I want to bring them in to spotlight them. And one by one, we want you to speak to the question of why is this the moment to invest in CUNY? And if you can do that in 90 seconds, you get 2 New Deal for CUNY buttons. So let's get it rolling. And let's see, who do we have here first? Let me look at this list. Do we have Senator Jabari Brisport?
Yes. Hi, everybody. So Senator Brisport here from Brooklyn. Thank you to the sponsors, Gounardes and also Karines, Reyes. I want to give a shout out to everyone who's logging in from City Tech. You're in my district, I'm the senator, or if you're at Meg or Evers, you just stopped me, but a lot of y'all live in, in my area. But truthfully, I'm here for all of CUNY, students, faculty, and family, truly today, because all of you need the new deal, and all of you haven't gotten the raw deal for too long. So I know I'm going to keep my comments brief because we're running a little short on time, but I just want to say that, I really appreciate the bringing the coalition together. I love some of the class struggle I saw in the chat about billionaires not existing. Billionaires should not exist. And there is no cancel billionaires bill going through the state legislature, but there is an amazing six-bill package called the Invest in Our New York Act to raise progressive taxes on the wealthy to raise over $50 billion and including fully funding CUNY. So I want everyone to get on board in that, invest in our New York. Thank you for being on this call, and let's fully fund CUNY with a new deal. Thank you.
Great. Senator Hoylman, we're going through the senators first, real quick. Thanks.
Yes, hi, State Senator Brad Hoylman. Just wanted to shout out to my senator colleague, Gounardes, for this great package. And let's not make the mistake that we made in the 70s, which is disinvestment in one of the shining lights for middle and working class and immigrant New Yorkers, which is the CUNY system. And we know that studies have shown that CUNY brings in 6 times more low-income students into the middle class than all of the Ivy League colleges combined. It's time to invest in New York and embrace the package that Senator Brisport just mentioned. We have to tax the wealthiest to make sure that our middle and lower income folks succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Jackson and then Senator Liu.
If not now, when? I say this to you because I chair the city's committee number 1. City committee 1 is New York City. So I'm fighting for New York City. But all of your people should know that the higher education hearing yesterday ran from 9:30 into in the evening. And I was there for every panelist listening. The bottom line is we need money from the federal government and we need money from the state government. So we have to be willing to do that. And with all of these people here, with all of the CUNY students and their parents and their relatives, communicating with the legislators, that's the type of pressure we need. If it's only this 500 here, I don't know. But if we have 500,000, then we must act. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Senator Liu and then Senator Mayer.
Great to be here with everyone here. Thank you to PSC for organizing this, and thanks especially to the students who have made their voices heard loud and clear. I do want to give a shout out to some of my former students that I see in the Zoom today. Great to see you. I think a lot's been said already. Yesterday in the higher education budget hearing, I'm a member of that committee. We talked a lot about how we need to fund CUNY. But I think that the vision that's being projected by the leadership at CUNY needs a great deal more augmentation. They basically are trying to fight one budget crisis after another with no real vision for how to actually expand CUNY, as opposed to just trying to deal with budget cuts. So we need the revenue. We need to invest in our New York package of revenue bills that will raise billions of dollars for lots of things that New Yorkers need, especially education, to bridge the divide, to eliminate the disparities that have been laid bare with coronavirus and even before COVID-19. So I stand with all of you. Thanks, Andrew Gounardes and Karines Reyes, for putting forth that legislation. It's the time for a new deal for CUNY is now.
Right. Thank you. Senator Mayer and then Senator Biaggi.
Well, thank you so much to the sponsors. I'm Shelley Mayer, Chair of the Senate Education Committee, proudly representing a lot of constituents for whom CUNY is a school of choice, all the CUNY schools. And the idea of having a new deal for CUNY is right on time. If it's not too late, the time is now, as Senator Jackson said. So credit to my colleagues, Senator Gounardes, Assemblywoman Reyes. We're all on board. Let us bring CUNY back to the shining star it should be, and it needs to be. And New York needs to invest in its public colleges, universities, and its public schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Biaggi. And then Senator Ramos.
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Alessandra Biaggi. I'm the state senator for New York's 34th State Senate District, and I represent a large part of the Bronx and Westchester County. Listen, District 34 is home to the beautiful and amazing Lehman College, and I am incredibly grateful to represent a piece of the CUNY community, a place where my grandmother and my mother both graduated from. Listen, in the state of New York, access to quality and affordable higher education should not be a privilege. It should be a right. And we all know that. And I think that after 10 years of an austerity budget, it is essential to make sure that one of the most important parts of our society, which is education, is funded. In the state of New York, this should not be something that we are fighting for. New York State, to the rest of the world, symbolizes a beacon of hope, a place where people can come to have a better life. And yet right now, we are in a moment where if we do not fund CUNY and make sure that it has the resources that it needs, it's not going to survive. And so the New Deal for CUNY is an important framework for how we can provide that amazing and excellent educational system, as well as the emotional support for our city's students. We have to fully invest in not only the education, but in ensuring that all of the faculty of CUNY have all of the resources that they need as well, including ensuring that they are paid properly and are making a living wage.
Great.
New York is very lucky to have so many remarkable educators. I am going to continue to fight behind so many of my colleagues that you have heard from today. But again, we cannot shortchange our students, and we cannot allow for our governor to push budgets that just harm our communities and make sure that we are not succeeding. So let's fight for our voices, and let's make sure that we actually get this done this year.
Great, thank you. Senator Ramos and then Salazar.
I'll move to Assembly members, Andre, and we'll come back to Salazar and Ramos.
Okay, we're moving, is James Sanders here? Senator Sanders?
No,
I know that all of you are in and out of meetings all day, so we appreciate it. Let's move on to the Assembly. Richard Gottfried, please.
Well, thank you. I really want those buttons. My grandparents were both we're all immigrants. My mother was able to go to Hunter College. My father went to City College. Why? Because they were free. And I have always understood I would not be here were it not for the free education, the superb education that they got. So I've always been an enormous fan of supporting public higher education. We ought to get back to it being free. The competition for funding is not between higher education versus school aid or Medicaid. The enemy is austerity. The competition is money staying in the pockets of rich people. That's why all of us, whether you're the chair of the health committee as I am, or the chair of the higher education committee like Deborah Glick or what have you, the competition is to raise revenue, and a lot of it by taxing the seriously undertaxed high wealth in this state. Let's get that done.
Thank you.
Let's help CUNY flourish.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, and let's highlight next. We have Khalil Anderson, Kenneth Burgos, and Carmen de la Rosa. Khalil.
Assemblymember Burgos is going to be next.
Great.
All right. How you doing, everybody? Thanks for having me. Assemblyman Kenny Burgos from the Bronx, representing Soundview, Harding Park, Hunts Point, and Longwood. I just want to say thank you all for being here. I am a huge supporter of this CUNY deal. I think it goes absolutely in tandem with the Invest in Our New York Act. If we talk about investing in our New York, there's no better way than to invest in our people, than to invest in public education. As someone who's been in public education, as someone whose sister is in CUNY right now, big shout out to Destiny Martinez. I think she's on the call. That's my little sister. She's in CUNY, so I fight for her. I fight for all of you in this call. I really do believe public education is the most important tool that we have here in our society, in our state. So this is what we have to do. I'm committed to it. I know my colleagues are. So again, I really thank you. This is our moment.
Thank you. Ken Burgos, and then Carmen de la Rosa, and Harvey Epstein.
It's an honor to join you today. I'm Carmen de la Rosa. I represent Upper Manhattan, Washington Heights, Inwood, and Marble Hill. And although I don't have a CUNY school in my district, I have CUNY in the Heights. But many of my constituents attend CUNY, and many of my constituents teach at CUNY. So I am here to thank all this full coalition who has come together to make sure that public education in our state is prioritized. Every single year we hear about maintenance of effort, and we know that the maintenance of effort has never been funded to the extent that it needs to be funded. CUNY and the student movement have also been leaders in the fight for civil rights in our city and in our state, and we have to recognize that. The forethinkers of many of the movements have come from CUNY, and that is just a testament to the work that happens there. And so today I'm proud to join my colleagues. I want to thank Karines Reyes. I want to thank Senator Gounardes for their leadership. We're going to make sure that we make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Harvey Epstein and Farrah Forrest.
I want to thank you all for being here, letting us take a moment to speak. We got to tax the rich, invest our schools. It's our New York. We need to fight for our New York. As a CUNY alum, my father was a CUNY alum. We need to commit to our schools. I'm staying with you. I will continue to stay with you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Assemblymember Reyes and Senator Gounardes. We will fight together. We will fight to save CUNY. Thank you.
Jessica Rojas, Gonzalez Rojas.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. I am a proud CUNY adjunct, City College in the house. I want to thank the sponsors, Gounardes and Reyes, and most importantly, thank the faculty, the students, the adjuncts that have been fighting this fight. I was born in 1976. In 1976, we saw the highest enrollment of people of color. It just so happened to be the year in which they stopped making CUNY free. My whole life, CUNY has not been free for our communities, and we need to change that. COVID-19 has underscored the need to invest in our communities, invest in our students, invest in the education so that New York can come back better and stronger and more vibrant. So I'm here in this fight. It was a campaign commitment. It is a fight I'm willing to throw down on, and we need to support our CUNY community. Thank you all. I'm here for the Green New CUNY. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone's being so great and short and forceful. Farrah Forrest and then Emily Gallagher.
Okay.
Oops. Maybe go to Emily Gallagher and come back to Farrah Forrest.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Assemblymember Emily Gallagher, representing District 50.
And I believe in a government and in a state of abundance, not austerity. And there was a time not that long ago when any full-time student in the city of New York could get a bachelor's degree free of charge. And it wasn't controversial. Higher education was viewed as a basic right of being a New Yorker, a right to pursue an intellectual life, the camaraderie of the classroom, upward mobility, regardless of your ability to pay. Of course, it was never completely universal. As my colleague Jessica Rojas mentioned, there were barriers to newer immigrants and people of color. And that's when we started seeing tuition fees and hikes and things like that. But this was a vision that the city cherished, and I believe that we still do. It's time to stop the poverty wages, the budget cuts, the hiked tuition, and the crushing debt for students and adjuncts. It is not acceptable, and we need to embrace that we all deserve more than food, housing, and the basics of life. We all deserve an intellectual life. And I believe that, and I believe CUNY gives that, and I'm here to fight for it for all of us. Thank you.
Great. Is Farah able to get on? Okay, let's move. We are getting through everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Assemblywoman Forrest is here and unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Assemblywoman Reyes and Senator Gounardes for putting this out. This moment, the cycle, this is the year to reverse the racism and austerity of the 1975 fiscal crisis, which continues to plague this state. This is the cycle to tax the rich and end tuition at CUNY, and finally fully fund the university so that it can better serve and engage its majority working class people of color student population. CUNY is the economic engine of our city, and fully investing in CUNY is crucial to our economic recovery. I am a proud two-time graduate of both City Tech and the School of Professional Study, and I am a proud co-sponsor of the New Deal for CUNY. Let's get it done.
Awesome. Thank you. We're getting through it here. This is great. We'll be a few minutes over, but we're going to fit everyone in. Michael Montesano, Linda Rosenthal, and Nader Seish.
Linda Rosenthal, you can go next. Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal.
Hi, I'm Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. I represent the 67th Assembly District, and I am proud to have John Jay College in my district. You know, their saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. We have the COVID crisis, but in fact, CUNY has been in crisis for years, and we've all failed to step up, actually. And so we have a renewed commitment today with Assemblymember Reyes, Senator Gounardes. We're going to fight to fund CUNY. You don't deserve to sit in buildings with rats and mold. The faculty deserves to get a good paying salary, and the students deserve the best, because we tout New York is the best, but we're not if we do not recognize the importance of a great education for all for free. Thank you.
Great. Assemblymember Seish, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Assemblymember Weprin.
Great. Okay. David Weprin.
Yes, good morning. I want to start off by saying I did not go to CUNY. I went to SUNY, although I have two children that graduated from Queens College. And I also have Queens College in Queensboro bordering on two different sides of my district. And I share a lot with Senator Gounardes, apparently, because I wouldn't be here either if it wasn't for CUNY, because both my parents met at Brooklyn College, but they were only able to go to Brooklyn College because it was free. And they came from poor families. They could not afford tuition. My mother was a Cuban immigrant, and it's because of CUNY that I'm here today. So I want to congratulate Assemblymember Reyes and Senator Gounardes for sponsoring this legislation. I'm going to be a proud co-prime sponsor and fight for this entire package. And I also just want to give a shout out to Barbara Bowen, who has been fighting for CUNY for decades and is really a terrific leader on supporting CUNY. And I'm with you every step of the way. We have to invest in our future and our children and grandchildren's future. And that's why we need to invest in CUNY. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Al Taylor, Marcella Mitaines. I'm leaving it to Tiffany to tell me who's
Good
ready.
morning.
Thank you.
Good morning. Am I on? Good morning. I want to thank my colleagues, Senator Gounardes and Assemblywoman Reyes. I am a proud graduate of CUNY, Lehman College in the Bronx. And like you've heard so much, I met my wife at Lehman. I have my job because of Lehman. I was involved in an internship program in New York City government that led to the New York State Assembly. But also it's not peculiar, but why did they stop education, free education in 1976? Because Black and brown people started to move in those communities, saw the protector, and they didn't want to have anybody going to school for free. And I think the mission has been accomplished thus far. Now it's time to enact this New Deal. And we're not asking, we're demanding an opportunity for education because education is a game changer. While going to school, and Senator Gounardes touched on something. I remember I had to walk from Dykeman Public Housing to Lehman several times a week because I didn't have car fare and I didn't have food. But I made it because I understood the value of an education. And we're here and I will continue to fight with you and for you and all of those students that will come after us to make sure they get a free education, a quality education in a place not overrun with rats.
Thank you. Are there any others who are ready in the queue?
Assemblymember Joanne Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this is just a really exciting day, and I'm really excited to be part of this effort. I have long been a fan of CUNY. I did not go to CUNY, but that doesn't mean I don't love it. And CUNY is plays such a powerful role in New York, and it is really the best way that we can invest in our future. I'm proud to have City Tech in my district, and I want to shout out to all of the students who have been City Tech students that have been so active in the University Student Senate, and to support them in their efforts and to support PSC CUNY in its efforts for a new deal for CUNY, because that's the only way we're going to make a dent in the troubles that we have now and really invest in our future. And I couldn't be prouder to be a part of this effort. So thank you very much.
Fabulous. I think we have Assembly members, the Barons here. Charles and Inez, do either of you want to give a shout out?
Yes. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Well, let me get in trouble as I always do. I want all of y'all, everybody that heard what my colleague said, make sure they hold on to that when it comes budget time. When we get down to the wire and the governor and the speaker of the assembly and the head of the Senate starts telling y'all to vote for a budget that cuts CUNY, vote for a budget that has student tuition raised for 5 years, vote for a budget that doesn't have money for the TAP gap, voting for a budget that doesn't have money for scholarships. I have a letter request saying that they should put $20 million into a Martin Luther King scholarship fund for non-tuition costs, because the Excelsior Scholarship is for middle-class students, and that's the governor's pet peeve, over $130 million. So my colleagues, I graduated from CUNY too. I'm a CUNY fan. We need CUNY supporters when it counts, budget time. So I'm hoping that we turn the rhetoric into a reality. The governor, the three people in the room that you think is so powerful, the governor has no votes on the budget. The Speaker of the Assembly has 1, and the head majority leader of the Senate has 1 vote. You, 150 and 63 in the Senate, we passed the budget. The best way to support CUNY is to be strong at budget time, not press conference time only, but budget time, and say no to the governor and them. And by the way, we should have a free tuition CUNY. CUNY should be free.
Ditto, ditto.
Thank you. Thank you both. We have Assemblymember Khalil Anderson here. Is he available to give a shout out?
Yeah, peace and blessings. Thank you so much for having me here. You guys gonna make me go after the Barons? I mean, that was too, come on, can we give a shout out to the Barons for their constant and consistent messaging around making sure that we work for Black working class families who we've seen this system change after we were allowed to integrate into the CUNY system. It's very important to announce that, or to acknowledge that, excuse me. But myself, I'm also a CUNY graduate, and I just graduated CUNY last year. And as a CUNY student and now a state legislator, I feel it's my duty and responsibility to make sure that we fight for this institution that promotes upward mobility for Black and brown people. And for people all across fields of CUNY. This is our opportunity to build and create a new deal for a CUNY system that's been forgotten about and left behind, to build and create opportunities for our young people, to expand institutions and put people to work, right? Because there's so much need in our CUNY campuses as it relates to capital, building out buildings and aging infrastructure. This is our opportunity to also put our people to work. This is also an opportunity to get our folks educated. There are many, many programs that do a tremendous amount of work in moving folks upwardly mobile. As a CUNY graduate from Queens College, but also a Sikh student, I'm very, very passionate about making sure that we maintain and keep our opportunity programs. And as Brother Barron said, we've got to make sure that we protect this institution, not just here, not just when it's popular, but in that room and in those rooms of power, so that we can make sure that we preserve this institution, expand this institution, and protect the leaders who are gonna come out of this institution. It's no secret that a lot of the folks who are on the call, who are elected officials, who are community leaders, who are activists, who are organizers, and who are in different agencies, come from CUNY. This is an institution that makes leaders. And this is our opportunity to make sure that we protect that institution and move it forward. I want to thank my colleagues, Assemblywoman Reyes, Senator Gounardes, for having the vision and foresight to get folks together, to get people united around this very important issue, and to legislate it and to prioritize it. And this is our moment. This is our moment where society will judge us on how much we give to the people who are coming behind us, how much uplifting we give to the people who are the young people and the people of color who are coming behind us. This is our opportunity to right the ship of the decades of systemic neglect. This presents ourselves an opportunity to rebuild our future leaders here in New York. We must support this plan. We must invest in CUNY. We must build a new deal for CUNY. So thank you everyone for being on the call. Let's get out there and work.
Yes, you really summed it up. This has been an amazing press conference, an amazing launch. I do want to give the prime sponsors a chance if they want to say a quick farewell, goodbye, but let's remember this is the beginning. We are so happy to have had so many fabulous legislators and CUNY supporters here with us today. Thank you all so much. We will be behind you. As you can see, we're a force here in New York City. Someone put in the chat, everyone loves CUNY, and this year we will have everyone fighting for CUNY, supporting you and have your back. We want to invite you to join and form what will be called the CUNY Caucus in legislation. We want you to be members of the CUNY Caucus. We will be in touch with you all the time. The CUNY Rising Alliance appreciates it. So I don't know if Assemblymember Reyes or Senator Gounardes want to give us a quick farewell, goodbye message.
Sure. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for joining, and thank you, everybody, for your support. And yeah, let's not forget the intersectionality of this issue and the things that we need to fight for on the back end to make this a reality. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. For some reason, my video is no longer working. I tried to restart it or whatever, but I'm still here. I can see everyone on this call. Thank you to everyone for your support. We have a lot of work ahead of us. This is just the beginning. This is not something that we're going to finish in 1 year. This is a vision for the future of a university that we all very passionately believe in and that we are committed to seeing realized. So the fight starts now. Let's get to work, and I look forward to working with you all. Thanks, guys.
Great, it was great. Thank you, legislators. You all get 2 buttons. So maybe we should unmute ourselves and applaud ourselves. Can we unmute everybody just to give a quick applause and shout out and see each other? Yay, thank you, everybody. Great. Are you there?
Oh, you wanna yell?
For CUNY, yeah.
Been helping so we can get this.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Members.
Tuition.
Thank you.
Tuition.
Way to go.
Dave Asak.
Yeah, I called him a couple times. Also, it's good.
Feed the children.
Thank you.
Hey, CUNY strong. CUNY strong.
That's right.
Be
Okay.
resilient.